Hey everyone, we're back to talk about the Age of Apocalypse. This time we're going to go over how Sabretooth originally joined this iteration of the X-Men, and why Gambit also left the team. Then at the end of this video, we'll go into a little special story where the Brood come to Earth. For more on this alternate X-Men timeline story, be sure to subscribe to our channel for future videos on the Age of Apocalypse, as well as clicking on this button in the top corner here for our past videos setting up the timeline and what's going on in this particular video. For his failure to follow Apocalypse's orders, Victor Creed, also known as Sabretooth, was never treated with trust following the events in America, and eventually it led to him being held in prison during a calling in Los Angeles. Creed was held with another mutant named Wild Child, who also could not be controlled by Sabah. Though initially hostile to one another, Victor quickly established dominance over this feral mutant, and they were able to work together and escape. This proved a turning point for Sabretooth, leading to what he views as the greatest accomplishment in his life to date, joining Magneto and his X-Men with Wild Child at his side, as well as eventually serving as a father figure to a young mutant woman named Blink. Not too long after joining the X-Men, things reached a boiling point within the team. They were able to achieve a handful of successes along the way against Apocalypse, such as Magneto injuring his son, Nemesis, severely in revenge for the death of his daughter, leading to Nemesis being transformed into a new being known as Holocaust. However, overall, things were going poorly, and Apocalypse was successfully conquering North America, all while decimating human populations around the world. When Jean Grey was captured and held in a camp for mutants, Magneto chose to abandon her rather than risk the well-being of the rest of his team. Outraged, Logan went to save her on his own, though lost his hand in the process. On returning, a fight broke out between Weapon X and Magneto over this, with Logan and Jean ultimately deciding to leave the team entirely. This left Eric heartbroken to lose team members he valued so much, but Jean privately told him that she understood why Magneto did what he did and left her behind, and just felt as though Logan needed her more than the X-Men at this moment. Following this, in Spokane, Washington, Holocaust met with the Dark Beast's finest creation to date, a killing machine known as the Wolverine. They spoke of the X-Men and how they knew that Weapon X and Jean Grey had recently left the team. Well aware this would be weighing heavily on Magneto's mind, Holocaust decided it was time to further break down their enemies psychologically, and ordered Wolverine to kill Magneto's son Quicksilver before he would finally have revenge on Eric himself. At the time, the X-Men were operating in Colorado, where they rescued a group of innocent humans from some criminals. They worked to take the thugs down, but for weak criminals, the team struggled, aware that Magneto was distracted by the loss of Weapon X and Jean Grey, and it affected their usual outstanding performance. From the shadows, Wolverine empowers two humans with his mutant ability to give them physical strength and speed. On his orders, they attack Magneto, managing to use their new enhanced physiology to stab the leader of the X-Men. This forces the team to retreat, at which point Wolverine observes that the one closest to Magneto at the time was not Quicksilver, but either Rogue or Gambit. Reflecting on this, he decided to alter Holocaust's plan on the fly, and sought out more humans to use as pawns in his next attack. The X-Men returned to their headquarters, at the time located in the remote mountains of New Mexico, where Magneto was able to make a quick recovery. Eric reprimanded Gambit for ordering a retreat after he was injured. At this, Remy attempted to leave for a date with Rogue, but she insisted on staying behind to help Magneto. She tries to encourage the beleaguered leader of the X-Men, but little can console him, though they do share a romantic moment that leaves the young woman, still in an active relationship with Gambit at the time, feeling very uncomfortable. She left, and when she encountered Remy later, when he states he is willing to fully commit to a romance with her, she runs off at the offer, confused over her feelings and leaving the young man dismayed. He goes to ask Magneto for advice, finding him training with the rest of the team, in spite of being still a little off from his earlier injury. Because of this, Eric speaks harshly to Gambit and lectures him when he interrupts the practice, but hears the man out when Remy insists on still speaking. With Magneto wrestling over his own feelings for Rogue, however, there was little he could do to console Gambit, barely stumbling out an answer before they are interrupted by the woman herself. At her request, she and Magneto go to speak in private for a moment, where he shows her that he discovered a way to use his powers so that he can safely touch the woman without triggering her abilities. Rogue is moved to tears at this gesture, but seeing it all unfold from a distance, Gambit is left enraged. He attacked Magneto on the spot, who easily warded off his student's blows. In this moment, Gambit lashed out at Rogue as well, blaming her behavior on residual guilt over Wanda's death. In response, she slapped him, and from a distance, Wolverine observed all of this, having tracked down the X-Men some time ago, and his target is made clear by the interaction. He and the augmented humans charged at the X-Men's headquarters, leading to a battle with the heroic mutants. The X-Men recognized that these attackers were stronger than the average human, but they were still able to handle things with their usual deft skill, no longer feeling their funk from earlier. However, in their newfound confidence, an unaware Magneto was attacked by Wolverine, who knocked the still recovering mutant down in a single blow. He prepared to kill Eric, only to be attacked by Gambit. In the ensuing battle, both Remy and Magneto are cornered by Wolverine, and given the choice between saving the two, Rogue decided to save Magneto, flying him to safety while a despondent Gambit is pummeled by Wolverine. The rest of the X-Men manage to take down the humans and turn on the mutant, leading to a legendary battle where, in spite of the team's best efforts, Apocalypse's servant comes out on top. It is only Gambit, who is able to recover from Wolverine's earlier attack, that was able to stop this menace, by using his mutant powers to charge part of Wolverine's armor with an explosive level of kinetic energy. This results in a chain reaction that sends Wolverine flying off into the horizon, but Remy was left heartbroken by the events of the day. He chose at this moment to leave the team, walking away from his relationship with Rogue and abandoning the X-Men entirely. In just a few years following these events, and Sabah had already conquered all of North America. With the rise of this new tyrant, a number of mutants joined his cause, and rose in prominence and power in exchange for their loyal service. Among them were brothers Scott and Alex Summers, all the while watched over by Apocalypse's most trusted servant. At the time, he and Hank McCoy, before the latter mutant was fully transformed into the Dark Beast, had discovered a mysterious space vessel, which they quietly obtained and began to examine in secret. On board this ship was a pilot named Christopher Summers, father of the Summers brothers, who had been stranded in space for some time. McCoy and Sinister chose to keep this discovery a secret from Chris's children, and instead experimented on the man for years, seeking to learn what his adventures across the universe did to his body. After 5 years of brutal treatment, Chris managed to engineer an escape, fleeing into the ruins of Manhattan. The man is taken in by a kind stranger named Joe Robertson, a former journalist that informed Summers on the events of the world that led to this dystopian state it is in. At the news of this escape, Cyclops witnessed Sinister's other elite troops being ordered to track down this fugitive, with him being left out of the picture. Though Sinister passed this off as a lesson in delegation, in truth, Nathaniel Essex did not want either of the Summers involved in rescuing their father, not wanting to risk them discovering the nature of their relation to him, as it is Mr. Sinister who raised the two Summers boys, and he didn't want to compromise this relationship. Sinister's troops were able to quickly track down the fugitive to the home of Joe Robertson, but only found the man dead. To their surprise, Robertson's corpse rose right in front of them, alarming the group and forcing Northstar to vaporize the body. Following Chris's trail further, they managed to find him and attack, forcing Summers to kill a mutant named Emplate and injure Northstar and Aurora while fleeing. Within half an hour, the Summers brothers discover the incident and decide to get involved, in spite of Sinister's orders. They tracked down Chris, who revealed his identity as their father. He tried to evacuate the Summers family years ago to Canada in the early days of Apocalypse's rise. In the process, Chris was abducted by aliens and was forced to abandon his children to spare them from the same fate. The Summers' parents were tortured by these extraterrestrials, who killed Catherine Summers, wife to Chris and mother to their children. Eventually, Christopher bonded with other captured aliens, and they managed to escape their captors. They became a rogue team called the Starjammers and got involved in intergalactic politics before Chris was finally able to make his way back to Earth. Back in their research lab, the now long transformed Dark Beast and Sinister discover a formerly captured mutant named Jean Grey has a uniquely compatible genetic pattern with Scott Summers. They prepare to create a new, artificially grown mutant with an untold level of power by combining these two genetics. But when Beast taunts Sinister over Chris Summers' escape, and likelihood of him being able to reveal the truth of what happened to him and his children, Sinister is thrown into a rage. He kicked out his subordinate and began to ponder on what might happen next. Unable to contact anyone, the Summers boys find themselves stuck in the area where they found their father. Scott found a number of dead bodies there and only one survivor, a human named Misty Knight. The woman despaired at the sight of her dead compatriot, her friend Colleen Wing. Suddenly, however, they are attacked by Colleen and the other dead humans, all risen from the dead, and transformed into a sinister alien parasitic race known as the Brood. These beings attacked relentlessly, eager to feast on their mutant victims, though seemed to give pause around Chris Summers. Soon overwhelmed by these scavengers, they were only rescued by Mr. Sinister. At the sight of his adoptive father, Scott got angry, furious about what happened to his biological father and Sinister's treachery. However, their argument is interrupted when Chris suddenly transforms into the Brood as well, revealing himself to be the source of the alien infestation on Earth. When his father attacks Mr. Sinister, Scott is forced to kill Christopher with a powerful optic blast. As he dies, the Elder Summers apologizes to Scott, stating that the Brood consumed the entire Shi'ar Empire and infested him as well, though, with his death, Earth was left safe from the Brood, at least for the time. Scott, Alex, and Sinister all squabble over these revelations, and Summers' choice to kill Christopher, leaving all three emotionally distanced from one another, permanently. As a result, Alex stormed off, ready to kill his brother, while Scott brushed off Sinister's attempt at reconciliation. Instead, Summers begins reflecting on something his father said to him, that this was never the life intended for Scott Summers. He realized in this moment that his father gave him an incredible, tremendous gift before he died. The opportunity to start changing for the better. Next up, the X-Men face Apocalypse's Horsemen of Death in a pretty cool space battle, and then we get into the origins of Age of Apocalypse's Cable. See you guys next time, and thanks for watching.